My name is Rachel Lin, a PhD student in OSHU Clinical Informatics Department. Today I'm going to introduce the interest plot string graph. The dataset I used was extracted from the COVID-19 tracking project. The dataset aggregates data on COVID-19 testing and patient outcome from all states and territory in U.S. I select five states near to Oregon, include Oregon, Washington, Utah, Idaho, and Nevada. All these states were tracking for the past 12 weeks data. Variable I use include a daily positive test increase, the name of day and the date. If you have interesting for the dataset, you can find more information on covidtracking.com. String graph audience is for general public. In this case, I especially want to introduce this information to people have interesting to see the trends of the new case of COVID-19 in these 5 states, but they don't want to spend too much time exploring the graph and data. String graph is a type of stack area chart where the baseline is free, which display the change of a numerical value following another value. So the x value can be time or a continuous variable. String graph looks pretty smooth and flowing like a river. Overall, string graph provide a general view of data and useful to study the relative proportions of the whole. However, there are some kinds of string graph. First, string graph is not good to study the evolution of each individual group. It is hard to read height of a specific group. And string graph is not suitable to present percentage change over different rates. I will explain this part later. And sometimes categories with small values are often drawn out. Here is our example figure of string graph. We can see overall here is a dumbbell shape, so that indicates in the early and recently there are more cases. And we can use drop down tool to select the state you have more interest. For example, Oregon show in white and Washington is purple. And we can see Washington and Utah recently have more cases than other states. So the example figure presents a general view of COVID-19 daily new cases among 5 states for the past 12 weeks. So for a string graph, we can start to look at the axis to understand what data are presenting. And we can look the overall string of whole graph and see the flow of each color, which represents different state. And the pattern of trends might be useful to make prediction where the line is going in the future. And using interactive tool can help us focus on the flow or certain state or group you have more interest. Color is pretty important for string graphs. Gradient color shows more flowing. However, contrasting color works well for comparing different groups and clearly shows the borderline. Annotation is pretty useful, especially if you want to label different groups. There are 3 types of string graph. We just show the first type, central axis, and here is the zero axis string graph, which looks more like a area state graph, so the axis fixed on 0. And the third one is percent string graph, which convert the y-axis to 100%. It's pretty good to show the difference of proportion of each group. Here is my code. Mainly I use the string graph package and the interactive tool was built in. Here is some my early draft for this project. So the first arrow is multiple y value against the x values. Sometimes in the COVID-19 dataset, one date have a several report. So that's the arrow makes the string graph mess up. And then second arrow is in the beginning I try to present mortality rate, hospitalization rate, and daily increase rate in US in one graph, but it's make no sense to combine all these different type of rates in one axis and like sum up. Sometimes line graph might be better to comparing the rates. Here's my reference. Thank you for your listening.